Hey, folks, what's up? It's me again, that old-timer who's been bleeding orange and blue since back when the stadium still had that raw, gritty vibe, before all the fancy upgrades. You know, growing up in the shadow of the Rockies, football Sundays were sacred, grilling brats outside, arguing with buddies over plays, and yeah, enduring those lean years that make the good times even sweeter. I've seen it all with this team. The glory runs, the rebuilds, the heartbreaks that leave you staring at the ceiling at night. I remember those games in the ATS like it was yesterday, when the Orange Crush defense made opponents shake in their boots, or the 90s with Elway carrying us to Super Bowls. Those were the days when Mile High Stadium would straight up rock, with snow falling and the crowd creating hell for visitors. Now, with Empower Field, things are more polished, but the spirit? Still the same, fierce, loyal, ready for any fight. And now, as we're on the edge of this AFC Championship against the Pats this Sunday, January 25th, that mix of excitement and nerves is hitting hard. We're talking a shot at the Super Bowl, people, but man, the road just got a whole lot bumpier. Let's dive in, cause there's a ton to unpack, and I'm gonna think out loud with you guys like we're sitting in a Denver bar, beer in hand, debating what's next. Let me paint the picture of where we stand in this wild season. We started the year with a bunch of question marks hanging in the air. Would the new draft picks fit? Would the young QB hold it down? The defense, which looks solid in camp, would it stand up to the AFC beasts? It was one of those starts where you feel the potential, but also the risk of it all crumbling. But look at us now, after a journey that feels like a Hollywood script. Bo Nix has emerged as the leader we needed, with that pocket poise that makes you forget he's a rookie. He's not flashy, but he delivers pinpoint throws on third downs, slipping sacks with subtle moves, reading defenses like a vet. Reminds me of those early games where he struggled, but bit by bit, click, things fell into place. Our run game, a machine with backs tearing through lines, grinding out tough yards that wear down the opponent. Think about those long drives, chewing clock, keeping the D fresh for the rest. And speaking of defense, man, what a unit. Sacks flying from everywhere, picks at key moments, forcing punts that flipped the game. Remember that Chiefs matchup where our secondary shut down Mahomes? It was poetry. We squeaked into the playoffs with nail-biters that tested our grit. The wild card was a thriller, hanging on with clutch field goals and a D that wouldn't bend. The divisional round? Pure heart, coming back from a double-digit deficit in the third, with big-time plays that had the crowd going nuts. It's the kind of momentum that makes you think, hey, maybe this is our time to shock the league. We've got weapons everywhere, receivers stretching the field, tight ends blocking and catching, and a line that went from iffy to solid. But all that is under a big cloud now. But here's the thing that's got me uneasy, and I need a second to let this sink in, cause it's twisting my gut in a way only a longtime fan gets. Bo's hurt, out for the game. Jarrett Stidham's the guy now, stepping in at the worst possible time. In my book, this ain't a minor tweak. It's like yanking the wheel mid-curve on a windy mountain road, with cliffs on both sides. Stidham's no rookie, he's bounced around the league, seen the trenches, got that vet savvy from years of watching and learning. I remember him in stints with other teams, flashing talent, but nothing steady. But he hasn't thrown a ball in a real NFL game in 2 years. 2 whole years. That's an eternity in this crazy league, where timing is everything, where a split second separates a TD from a pick. Rust can creep in like fog over the Colorado plains, clouding it all. What stands out to me is how this throws our whole identity up in the air, questioning what we built all season. We built around Bo's mobility, his ability to extend plays, buy time for receivers to get open, improvise when plan flops. With Stidham, it shifts to more pocket protection, quicker releases, maybe a more conservative scheme to avoid risks. Can he handle the heat? In past games when backup stepped in, we've seen teams adapt, but we've also seen disasters, dead drives, turnovers that kill momentum. Think about the psychological hit. Guys in the huddle eyeing the new QB, adjusting rhythms, chemistry that needs rebuilding in hours. Now, hold up. Let's really unpack what this means on the field. 'Cause that's where the rubber meets the road. Picture this. Kickoff rolls at p.m. Eastern, mile-high thundering like an avalanche down the Rockies. Pats coming out with that smug confidence they always bring, like they own the place. We come out swinging early, testing Stidham with some intermediate routes to build his rhythm, see if the arm's loose, or do we lean heavy on the run, control possession time, keep the clock ticking slow and the Pats' offense off the field as much as possible. Sean Payton's a play-calling wizard. He schemed wins in thinner air before, mixing short passes with tricks that catch defenses off guard. Our O-line has to be flawless, creating clean pockets for Stidham to work. Stonewalling blitzes the Pats will send mercilessly. If they hold up, maybe we see some play-action fakes that freeze linebackers, opening seams for tight ends or slot guys to slip in. Courtland Sutton, for instance, could be the go-to on high balls, using his height for contested catches. But if the Pats ramp up the pressure, blitzing like mad cause they smell blood with an inexperienced QB, that's where it could unravel fast. A hurried throw, a misplaced ball, a pick six, and suddenly we're chasing the scoreboard, forced to risk more than we'd like. And what does that do to the defense? They'll have to carry the team, forcing turnovers, sacks, keeping it close. Remember those games where the D holds everything together until the offense clicks? Could be that again. And here's where it gets interesting, folks. The betting world has us as underdogs by 5.5 points. 5.5. At home in the conference title game. I've followed lines for decades, seen them swing on bad weather, minor injuries, or even historical matchups. But this line? This feels unprecedented, like a gut punch straight from Vegas, saying they don't believe in us without Bo at the helm. Before the injury news blew up, we were favored by a point, a slim edge, but an edge that showed respect for what we built. This drastic flip, it's all QB panic, plain and simple. The market's whispering in the dark corners. Stidham's an enigma, too unknown, too much uncertainty. What really bugs me isn't the number itself, it's what it reveals about outside perception. Our defense has been elite all season, shutting down potent offenses like amateurs, with sack chains and coverages that frustrate star receivers. But apparently, that's not enough to offset the QB switch. The Pats are good, sure, disciplined like a Swiss watch, efficient on third downs, with the D that punishes mistakes. But they're not invincible, far from it. Their run defense has shown cracks in recent games, leaking yards when pushed. If we exploit that right, keeping him guessing with run-pass mixes, we could even things out. But the line hasn't budged all week, opened at 4.5 and stuck at 5.5 like glue. Makes me wonder, is it historical disrespect or just raw realism? Let me tie this to what we've seen from this team lately, cause context is king. Think about that hot streak in November when we really hit our stride, Bo orchestrating epic comebacks, the D forcing 3 and outs like clockwork, special teams chipping in with game-changing returns. Or go back to that ugly loss to the Raiders mid-season, where turnovers killed us cold. That taught us hard lessons about protecting the ball at all costs, about not forcing unnecessary plays. This Stidham situation echoes that exactly. He's gotta be error-free, treat every possession like it's the last, avoiding risks a rookie QB like Bo might take. Payton's adjusted schemes mid-game before, like in the Chiefs matchup where we shifted to more screens and quick draws to counter their speed rush, flipping the script in the second half. If he pulls that magic here, shortening the game with sustained drives, maybe we wear down the Pats' front, forcing fatigue. But the ripple effect goes beyond. It puts huge weight on our special teams to field position. Battles could decide this outright. A big punt return, pinning the Pats deep in their own end, or a blocked field goal. That changes everything, creates momentum out of thin air. Remember the divisional game where a punt return sparked us? Could be the same script. Shifting gears to the bigger picture, cause it's not just about Sunday, it's about what comes after. What does this do to the locker room short term? It's a genuine rally cry, guys stepping up for their injured brother, playing with that extra fire from adversity. Our vets, the ones who've been through season wars, will lead the charge, motivating the young guns, keeping focus sharp. Long term, though, If Stidham shines for real, this plays out with him finding rhythm quick, leading a drive or two that quiets doubters and snags an improbable win that boosts confidence in our roster depth overall. Maybe even sparks off-season moves, like locking in another vet arm in the QB room or trading for insurance, showing we learned from vulnerabilities. But if it's a total disaster, with the offense stuttering and the D overburdened, then the questions rise like ghosts. Why didn't we have a more proven backup ready? Up at Dove Valley, they've been methodical in the rebuild since the dark days post-Manning's smart draft picks, culture shifts prioritizing resilience, free agent signings that fit the scheme. But QB stability is the foundation, the pillar holding up the building. This could expose if we're truly built to last through storms or if we're still a work in progress, needing more pieces for toughness. In my decades of following this up close, these moments define whole franchises. Remember 2012, when we had that playoff game at home against the Falcons, and everything felt electric, with the team flying, but injuries cut the momentum at the root? Or go back to the Manning era, where we adapted to his style precision passes, no huddle offense, and dominated the league, winning rings. Stidham's no Manning, obviously, but if he channels even a fraction of that smart's accurate throws into tight windows, smart checks at the line that could be pure magic. Say the game stays tight heading into the fourth. Our pass rush finally gets home, sacks the Pats QB, forces a fumble recovered in the red zone. The crowd erupts in ecstasy, momentum flips like a tide, and suddenly we're dictating terms. That's Broncos football at its absolute best, resilient to the bone, opportunistic like a coyote on the plains, turning disadvantages into legends. But the uncertainty with Stidham? That's the elephant in the room, folks. The one nobody wants to stare down. He's got the basic tools: a decent arm, sharp football IQ from years observing, but real game reps are irreplaceable. What separates the good from the great? Camp practice is one thing. 70,000 fans screaming, playoff intensity with the Super Bowl on the line? That's a whole different animal. Testing nerves of steel. What tips it for me is how this maxes out Peyton's creativity. Will we see innovative gadget plays, reverses to keep the Pats off balance and guessing, or stick to conservative basics, repeated handoffs, dink and dunk our way downfield, building confidence slow? Think about the implications for the receivers. They need to adjust routes, timing to a different arm, sudden going deep, maybe more 50-50th balls, tight ends becoming safety valves on short stuff. And the defense? They'll need to be heroes, covering potential mistakes, creating turnovers that give the offense second chances. Now, don't get me wrong, not throwing in the towel by any means. Far from it. I've seen this team pull rabbits out of hats too many times over the years, flipping games that looked lost, defying odds like it's routine. The home field advantage is real and tangible. That thin mile-high air hits visitors like a brick wall, leaving him gasping, errors piling up. If our corners lock down the Pats receivers, making them one-dimensional and forced to run, we dictate the terms. And hey, the Pats have their own exposed vulnerabilities, prone to turnovers at bad times sometimes, especially on the road, with a secondary that gives up big plays if stressed. If we capitalize on that, stealing a possession or two with picks or fumbles, this could be an upset for the NFL history books, the kind fans tell grandkids about. To expand more, let's talk historical patterns I see repeating. Since 1970, with the AFC format, home teams in conference finals have always been favorites or close 1-1-2 games, zero home underdogs until now. That's no coincidence. It's about momentum, crowd noise, familiarity. But here we are, breaking molds because of one QB. Reminds me of the Falcons in 2012, underdogs by 4.5 at home, but that was about matchup. This is pure panic. What intrigues me is how the offensive plan shifts. More early runs to ease Stidham in, quick passes to avoid sacks. The Broncos D, with its fierce pass rush, can keep the game in check, shortening possessions, avoiding turnovers. The Pats might adjust, pressing more, ending up if they think we won't threaten deep. Tying into recent decisions, the post-2020 rebuild focused on youth, but injuries like this tested. Off-season moves like drafting Nix were brilliant, but QB depth, questionable. If Stidham flops, off-season brings debates on backups. If he wins, it validates the philosophy. Wrapping up this long ramble, Sunday's gonna be epic. Win or lose. PM Eastern, all of us glued, hearts pounding. Stidham gets his shot, can he grab it and run? Or is it the Pats' day to dominate? Drop your thoughts below. Is this our Cinderella moment, or the end of the dream? Let's discuss. Broncos Nation. Keep the faith. Go Broncos.